Alright. Hey, I'm Swordsmankirby. This is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror 100%. And so this is a like Metroidvania kind of game. So 100% means 100% map completion, every chest, and beating the game. So can I give a countdown? Alright. Alright. Gotta reset. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh shoot, sorry. This is not on a clean save.
Well,
if the timer is still running, that's fine. Whoops. So this is sort of like a tutorial level, teaches you how to float. About these switches. This is supposed to be like a multiplayer game, so eventually the Kirby AI is supposed to catch up and press the switch for you, but if you jump precisely, you can get past it. Alright. Okay, I'm really glad I got that first try. I was struggling a lot with it. So, in a lot of Kirby games, if you swallow 2 enemies with abilities, it'll start this mix wheel, and it cycles through all the powers. Each power appears for 4 frames, and depending on which 2 enemies you inhaled, there's like a certain amount of time you have to wait before pressing A, and just to get wheel. And wheel is the best ability for movement in this game. So wheel, this game superficially looks a lot like Nightmare in Dreamland, the remake for Kirby's Adventure for the Game Boy Advance, but I can assure you the wheel mechanics in this game are really different. So the whole point of this game is that Kirby gets split into 4. So the pink Kirby, the red, yellow, and green Kirbys are actually, I think, like part of the same Kirby just split up. And so each of these Kirbys is a little bit weaker. And there's also a Shadow Kirby that appears from time to time. Usually the Shadow Kirby's not going to give us any trouble, but sometimes he'll give us some helpful items. Alright. So this is Mr. Frosty, or in the English version he's misspelled as Mr. Flosty. I don't know why. So as I was saying, this is like a Metroidvania layout. It's like a huge maze, and there are these big switches that open up different shortcuts throughout the run, and we actually need to press all of them.
makes sense for 100%. Did you say anything? It makes sense for 100%ing.
Sorry, I can't really hear your mic that clearly. So we're gonna get stone off this golem. Golems are kind of weird. Because Kirby's been split into 4, he's not, his inhaling power isn't as strong, so it actually takes a little while to inhale some of these enemies. And with Golem, depending on the attack that's doing, it gives you a different power. So you can get stone, wheel, or fighter from it depending on what attack it's doing. So that was King Golem. Very quick fight with stone. You just basically just stand in front of it and spam the stone. And after most of these boss fights, after it fades to white, I'm going to reset. And that just saves time. You won't get to see Kirby do his little dance. And I'm playing on the Japanese version because resets are a little bit faster. For some reason, you have to wait for the press start message to show up on the title screen on all the other versions, but not in the English, not in the Japanese version. There are some minor differences. I think the main one that people cite a lot is the fact that Missile does more damage on the Japanese version. And it actually doesn't come up much. I'm pretty sure it doesn't affect anything in this run. Right now I'm making my way through Cavish Caverns. This world is divided into 9 different areas, and usually like most 100% routes for this game like sort of does it sort of scattered, and the hope of this route that I'm showing you today is that it groups the different areas together. So all different segments of the run will be roughly grouped by area.
So how much faster is like the most optimized route for this?
Wait, sorry, I really can't hear your mic. What was that?
Is it how much faster is like the, I guess, most optimized route for this category?
Wait, sorry, I still can't hear it.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that
So what was the question?
is what's like the time difference, I guess, from like more optimized route to this route?
It's actually the exact same speed. So one nice thing about this this category is that it divides up really nicely into different segments. So what I mean by a segment is something that starts in the home screen and then comes back to the home screen. So in this case, I phoned home.
Oh, like ET.
Yeah, just like ET. And I can't remember. I think there's like 35 segments or so.
Okay.
That number might be a little bit different. But when I first started learning the game, there were 35. And you can do them in all sorts of different orders. Really, things that you need to consider are like whether or not you start or end the segment with a certain ability, or whether or not like you've pressed the switch that would allow you to even access that area from the home screen.
Yeah.
So in the previous segment you saw a mini, and it's just like a little ability that allows you to become small. It allows you to just squeeze through certain gaps.
Super cute kitty.
Yeah. Mini makes an appearance in Squeak Squad, the game that you're going to see after this, but it's really just in the way and like pretty much completely useless. And so since this is 100% map completion as well, there's some rooms that I just need to enter once and then just immediately leave because there's nothing else I need to do in that room. There's no treasure chests or anything like that, so I can just enter and exit. So the game wants you to get missile in a couple places, but we're just going to take the slow way up with wheel, just because we need to keep it for later on. Alright, so I'm going to slow down a little bit here. There's an enemy called a Mirror, that if you approach it too quickly in quotation marks, I don't really know exactly, like it's pretty counterintuitive. If you're running before you start your wheel and you try to attack it, it'll hide, and you have to reset the room in order for it to reappear. But if you're standing still or walking and then you start the wheel, then it won't disappear, which doesn't really make any sense to me. But that's just how it is. This area is Carrot Castle. It's got a lot of different rooms to it. Unfortunately, I didn't find a way of unifying this in the route, so this is actually going to be scattered into 3 separate segments. And sort of one of the confusing things about doing this run is that like there are areas, there's just a lot to memorize. Like there'll be areas where you collect a chest once, and second time, like for example this one, it's easy to miss. Like second time you come back here, you don't have to get it. And the game isn't really like very good at telling you like whether or not you've collected everything. Like you have the percentage counter at the file select, and you have the map, but you have to like manually look through the map to really make sure you got everything.
Yeah, I feel like that's like one of the things that kind of turn people off of this game, is that it's like so confusing.
Yeah, like casually, like it's really, really, really easy to get lost in this game. Like for me, I just gave up on like trying to find all the bosses myself and just like looked up a speedrun.
Yeah.
Alright, we're up here at Mega Titan and we still have wheel, which is really good. So in this first phase, the only way to damage Mega Titan is to hit him against this electric fence along the wall. And luckily I got a backwards hit, so I hit him to the right even though I was moving to the left. That saves like 2 seconds. Second phase is straightforward, just hit the head. And one thing I'm gonna do here is not reset. This is the only time it's gonna happen. It's because I want to keep wheel. So if I reset, obviously I'm gonna lose my ability. I'm not gonna have anything. But since I have wheel after this fight, I'm just gonna keep it this way. So this is the one Kirby dance you're gonna get to see.
Yeah.
And what determines where you end up after the fight is simply the last door in the home room. Let me just double check that I got this. Okay. Simply the last door that you entered in the home world. Yeah. One thing about this maze layout is that there are tons of one-way doors, so you'll just like go to this area, spend a really long time in it, go through a one-way door that you didn't want to go through, repeat it, like make the same mistake. I don't know, it was just a mess. And the map really isn't that helpful. There's this area later on called Candy Constellation where the map really doesn't look much like how the rooms are laid out, in my opinion. This is Boxy. Boxy can camp in the corner, and it's really annoying. Yeah, I'm just going to throw away wheel. But luckily, Boxy didn't do that this time around. I'm going to set up another mix here. This is actually pretty tricky. I messed it up. I missed the ability as well. Alright, good.
Alright. Is that frame, like, how many frames do you have to get the mix?
It's 4 frames. So 4 frames in a 60 FPS game, that's 1/15 of a second, which doesn't sound too bad, but you don't really have like too helpful of a visual cue. You have like the powers like scrolling past you, but it's not really that clear.
Yeah.
So UFO is just to hit that bomb block. The fully charged UFO shot will go through walls. Go through some walls like that. There are other ways of doing it. A lot of people used to use sword and use one of the other Kirbys and do a final cutter off their head. And you can also do it with fire, which is another way of hitting that bomb block.
So what made you decide to pick up this game? Because before, I guess, like, recently more so, this game used to be like one of the oldest Kirby world records.
Yeah, that was actually, to be honest, like kind of the one of my motivating factors was that the any percent world record for this at the time when I picked it up was 28:43 by a Japanese runner named Jet Toast, and that stood for 6 years, which in speedrunning terms is like a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really, really optimized run, especially for a game where no one was competing with him.
So that was your main motive, was like just beating that 6-year world record.
Yeah, actually, someone else beat me to it.
Oh.
Yeah, a German runner named Kobrel who at one point had the any percent and 100% world record for this game, and for Nightmare in Dreamland, and for Squeak Squad.
Yeah, Cobrel's pretty good at video games. How was the 100% category back then?
Sorry, say again?
How was the 100% category in terms of optimization back then?
I think, so what happens with the 100% route is that it has been really developed over time since like maybe like 2013.
Yeah.
And so lots of like small changes got incorporated over time. So the starting point was this like really old task by a runner named Mug. And a lot of those things that tool-assisted speedrun can do, you like simply can't do in real time. So, for example, in this game, enemies don't die immediately, and even if you get their HP down to 0, their body will still be there. You can continuously like attack it, and it will stay on the screen. So you can sort of get like one enemy from one end of the screen to the other, and then combine 2 enemies that way, which is definitely not really a reliable way of doing it. So right now I picked up the missile ability, and it's a really finicky control. So you can't actually normally do like 90-degree turns like this, and it's, even though it looks pretty like 8-directional, it's really not. Sometimes it like drifts sideways. And really the right way of controlling it is to do like 45-degree turns repeatedly. But if you turn around, you can like hold the opposite direction from the direction you're going. You can make like 90-degree turns, or even just go backwards. No need for missile here. Here's, I guess, like a little bit of a puzzle. Like, which one do you pick, fire or ice? I guess the hint here is that Frosty is weak to fire. And you need to hit that little switch there. And once I open the chest, I can just immediately reset. And the difference between fire and ice is that fire, you can control it going up, like a little bit diagonally upwards or downwards, while with ice you can't. Alright, so this is Peppermint Palace. Go in, go out, and that's it. Woo! But, of course, there's like more to Peppermint Palace, and we're actually going to take a, like the back entrance to it. Yeah, so the state of 100%, when I first started running this game, the world record was held by someone named Fretzy. And it was actually like a... I'm not sure how this happened, but like, it was for, like, every world record holder at that time had been German. So Mug is German, Fretzy's German, Breshman, who did a lot of routing work in this game, is German. Cobra is German.
They wanted the game really bad.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's pretty unlucky there. Pick it up, please. Peppermint Palace has some of my favorite music in the whole game.
Yeah, it's pretty catchy. Kirby games like always have good music.
Yeah.
Can't really think of a Kirby game that has like bad music.
And so because I hit those switches, I can just come back to this area. And right now, this like little segment of Peppermint Palace is going to be divided into 3 different groups depending on which path in the fork you take. Yeah. Improvements to the 100% route have been like pretty steady over the past like 4 years or so.
Now, I know you use a wheel ability a lot. Obviously, it's required for the game, but is it your favorite ability for Kirby, or do you have a particular favorite?
I think like a lot of like UFO iterations. Like for example, Kirby's Adventure UFO is really cool and
Oh, those are really
powerful. So powerful that they had to restrict the player from using it.
I loved it in Kirby's Dream Course. That's just a
Oh,
game
yeah.
breaker for that
Right.
one. So
Actually, we're gonna get UFO right here.
nice.
And so for this boss, mini boss coming up here, I'm gonna fully charge before I enter the fight. I'm gonna hit 2 fully charged shots and then 1 beam, and that'll take care of it. Unfortunately, UFO compared to like say Adventure, the movement is not as good, so there's no real point in keeping it for too long. But for some reason, I guess like in a nod to those old Adventure games, or old like Adventure, like Nightmare Dreamland, if you enter the home world with UFO, it actually disappears.
What if one of the like Team Kirby's did like had UFO?
Alright, nice.
Nice.
So that was a mix for Hammer here. So Hammer, if you inhale, was it like Laser and Parasol? I think those are 2 enemies I inhaled. The first ability on the wheel is Hammer, but unlike some earlier Kirby games, you can't buffer the first power. So it really is just still a 4-frame window like the rest. The mix wheel does slow down, and eventually some powers, like the window, becomes wider. And eventually the mix will just come to a stop, in which case those mixes, which do show up in the run, are really easy to do. And in that case, it's really the setup that's the tricky part of like inhaling the 2 enemies. Alright, Hammer, I can just do this like really strong charge attack. Whoops. What a troll. This is Wiz. He's like the paint roller of this game. Really, really random fight. In any percent, it's like a really big, like a crucial point in the run. Like how good your luck is on Wiz. Alright, so that's Peppermint Palace for now. Now we're on to Rainbow Route. What I always thought was interesting about this is that for the 80% run, you actually go through the past 2 rooms in reverse. I think it's just cool, neat difference between 80% and 100%.
It's a banger.
Here's a neat mini boss kill right here. So I'm gonna break those blocks and get a double star here. And now normally a double star won't kill, but I can actually hit Battlefire twice with double star, hitting it twice.
I was gonna say shout outs to Double Fire.
Was that where you were trying to get me to go with that previous question?
Yes, exactly. You know the chat was wondering.
Now, even in Kirby 64, my favorite ability is the Fire Sword.
Oh, Fire Sword's amazing. It really is.
I personally like the double-sided electric sword.
Double what?
Double-sided like electric
Oh,
sword.
yeah.
Spark.
I should mention a really important optimization is reducing what's called hit lag. So each time you hear a sound when the wheel hits an enemy, Kirby sort of stops in place for 3 frames, so like a 20th of a second. And while that's not that much, it really does add up over the course of the whole run. Who's Boxer? I'm going to do the exact same thing to Boxer. And for some reason, when you run into him and let him like clap you, he tends to run across the screen. So I intentionally ran to him, got him to attack me, and then baited him into walking across the screen. This is a fighter. This like roundhouse kick thing actually does move a little bit faster than running, but it's kind of finicky because if you try doing it with Kirby's running speed, he does this like uppercut kick thing instead. We're just gonna use fighter to hit that bomb block over there. Alright, gotta be careful on this mirror here. Yeah, if you approach it too quickly, it'll disappear, but if I puff it from afar, there's no risk. Alright. We're gonna go through this area again, but take a different path. Alright, to the right, we go to this different area over here.
So what's your favorite area in this game?
That's a tough one. I think I really like Carrot Castle and also Candy Constellation.
Oh, Candy Constellation's good.
Alright, so this is a very special mini boss, Master Hand, and he gives us the Smash ability. And it gives us Kirby's moveset from Melee. Actually, like in the German version, the like name of the Smash ability is literally SSBM. And we're gonna use Smash. Smash is good for stuff like Final Cutter. You can cut through rope with it. Like Hammer, you can break through blocks with it. Stone, you can break through blocks with it. So it's really useful for certain areas that are otherwise, like for example, if you're using Wheel, inaccessible. This is actually a really dangerous part of the run. I do not want to get hit at all in this section. If you lose your power underwater, you are not getting it back. And I think the whole point of this, in terms of like level design, was that they really wanted you to lose your ability. Like, there's spikes everywhere, enemies everywhere.
Ruthless with this game.
And I think this is like a big like bottleneck when you're first learning this category. Like at least for me, I just lose tons and tons of time because of losing Smash. So luckily I got through all of it. And this little peg here, I'm gonna hit with Hammer. What you are actually supposed to do is actually supposed to walk forward and fight Bonkers, which gives you the Hammer ability. But since we're able to carry Smash the whole way through, we don't need to do that.
Speedrun.
You might notice that big chest that's just sitting there, and I haven't picked it up yet. I'll get to it. These little fish are pretty random, so hopefully it doesn't jump on me. Okay. And really, I think like one of the most useful things about the Smash ability is the neutral A. This like cartwheel attack. Alright, and out. So the intended way of doing this room is to actually call your Kirby friends, but and like all of you in unison inhale that block and move it. But a lot of times they don't cooperate. They're like standing right in front of the block. They have an ability, but it turns out you can jump through it. And developers were thinking like, oh yeah, it's like someone's gonna just cause the screen to shake and move the block. But Kirby's hitbox is a little bit asymmetric, so if you turn around just as you jump through that gap, you can make it. And of course, if you push that block too far, then it blocks the door. So this is a little bit of a tricky section as well. Oops. So I I need to make sure I really don't take any damage here. This is a really random fight here. I want to hit... Okay, that was really good, actually. I want to hit Battfire 3 times with a hammer, and sometimes Battfire can just immediately jump into you, and in which case it just like wastes a lot of time. Yeah, like I was saying, neutral A is really good. It doesn't cause as much hit lag as the hammer. Here we're just gonna avoid the enemy just by going to stone form.
So how did you tackle like memorizing all the routes for this game just because of how crazy the mazes are?
It was a long process, and for a while, like I just really didn't like doing 100% runs because it was just like I'd be able to like go through the route with notes, but I just felt like I didn't really understand what I was doing or like how the different segments fit together. But after a while, like it became a lot clearer and it was a lot more fun to do. But starting out, it's really, really rough.
Yeah.
But hopefully, like if you're interested in learning this in this category, this route that I'm doing here, like this like marathon, like viewer, it's intended to be like viewer friendly, but I also think it really helps for memorization.
Do you think this is probably one of the more harder Kirbys to learn speedrun rise?
Yeah, I think this category like takes a long time to get good at. Drop down here.
I'm sure there's also like a lot more resources in learning this game in general.
Oh, I need that. Okay. So this orange enemy I just passed, I think it's called like Droppy or Droopy. It can steal your ability, and if the smash ability is just in my mouth, then I can't steal it. So that kind of worked out. But even if you try to attack it with most of the smash ability, for example, if you try doing the hammer spin thing, it will still eat your ability. But for some reason, the neutral A, it can't defend against. Yeah, if I lost smash there, that would have like lost me over a minute probably.
Bible time. Rick Thump in the chat.
What's up?
Rick Thump.
Alright, this is Fan. Terrible mini boss. I do want to keep. Oh, that's stupid. That was my fault. Alright, I'm just gonna stomp on it. Alright. I do want to keep Smash for after this.
Does he have throw?
Does he what?
Does he have throw ability?
Yeah, so he gives you a throw ability. Oh yeah, another thing is that while like as the game runs on, the other Kirbys will just randomly wander. And sometimes that can be like really bad. Like if you want to reset a room and there's another Kirby in it, you can't reset it. And the thing at the top left is like the battery of your cell phone. So if you have battery, you can call them to you and like get them out of the room. But if you're out of battery, then you could lose a lot of time. Yeah, Peppermint Palace is like really complex in terms of like the different ways you can actually go about doing things. Like for example, swimming through the water here for a long time wasn't done, but then at least in my route, I put it back in because I found it easier to execute. Didn't mean to attack him so much. Yeah, there are these bomb blocks laid out all over this room. If you hit the wrong ones, they'll just lock you out of getting certain chests.
on.
Oops. Alright, no need for Smash. So that concludes the Smash segment. Ooh, close. Like I said, Kirby, man, cooperate please. Kirby's inhaling power is weaker in this game. So it takes a lot to inhale that golem. So because he's rolling at me, he'll give me the wheel ability. I think it's interesting that there's like an enemy that can give you a different, more than one ability.
Is it 2 or 3 abilities you can give total?
You can get 3. So one thing that can screw you up is that the very first golem I inhaled right before the King Golem fight, if you mess it up, he'll immediately start punching you, in which case he'll give you Fighter. So this is Candy Constellation. The first half of it is this like loop of 6 rooms. And so since we don't actually need to like go in a circle, we're just gonna sort of cut the loop somewhere and not really visit all the rooms. And this is probably the most significant route change of 2017. Oh crap, got kissed.
Ew.
Is entering this through Peppermint Palace, like the way I did with Wheel. And compared to the previous routes, it saves around 25 seconds.
Wow. Like the reroute?
Yeah, like originally you would enter from a different, enter a different room using Missile, but this turns out to be faster.
25 seconds. That's actually really good for like a route change.
Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna enter here and then back out. So now we're gonna get stone and drop through this peg right here. And so the whole gimmick of this bottom half is that there's one chest and also access to this area that you can only do if you go from right to left through the rooms. Always take the left exit in each room. But for one of the chests, just moving quickly allowed me to circumvent doing that. Duck under these Gordos. I'd really like to keep stone, but there's this electric fence right above me that I've accidentally jumped into on multiple occasions. Alright, this is fantastic. But luckily this fight's a lot better because I don't need to keep my ability. And for I just feel like using stone from the stone ability is just a lot smoother than using the stone ability from Smash. Alright, what do I have to do now? Alright, chest is still there. Now this is the second half of Candy Constellation. There are a lot of places to lose wheel, like running into enemies and having your ability drop down to pits. And it's going to be divided up into 3 sections. It's really unfortunate that sometimes you have to do all this backtracking, but really it's sort of the layout of the rooms is more like a tree than like a network of interconnected rooms. So you really do have to reach this dead end, phone home, and do it all over again.
Shout out to all the places being named after food.
Alright, so this is the second half of Candy Constellation. Again, doing the same thing, jumping over the same enemies, making sure not to take damage. This room can actually be pretty tricky. Whoa. I don't know how I didn't take damage there. Like, there are a lot of enemies, and there are a lot of one-way platforms. So if you lose your ability, like, and you go past the one-way platform, then you're just screwed. I actually have no idea what the intended way of doing this puzzle is, but I'm sure this is not it.
Maybe like something with cutter or something.
I want to say it's with burning, but I'm
well,
not sure.
Yeah.
Oops, pause.
Because there's all these burning enemies. Probably makes more sense.
Yeah, so one little, like, very small movement thing you can do is to do what I call a double jump. And you basically cancel Kirby's floating animation. Like, if he doesn't close his mouth, you can interrupt it by doing something else, like inhaling. So you get a little bit of a height boost from starting the float, but then you cancel the float. And it gives you just enough height to grab that wheel enemy.
How is the lag for like whenever you hit something with wheel? Like how much?
Oh yeah, so each time you hear a sound, it means you've stopped for 1/20th of a second. So oftentimes you'll hit an enemy like maybe 2 to 4 times. So this is a lag room. There are a lot of blocks, lots of enemies. I guess that like it went okay, but that room is actually pretty tricky. There's another Master Hand fight. So I think this is like the first or second Kirby game that came out after Melee came out. So it's got a couple of like Melee references. Make sure I get this chest here. Yeah, this room here is like a prime example of reducing hit lag. A lot of those jumps are pretty precise, and it's just to save like really small fractions of seconds. Alright, here's Missile again. Yeah, so Missile's horizontal movement's not as good as Wheel, but definitely like unmatched in terms of vertical movement. Whoa. Whoops. Just go slowly through here.
Is it possible to do this whole room without having to like lose missile once, I guess?
I think you need to kill the Shadow Kirby, but besides that, it's possible to do without it. But I think like it's
improbable.
There's like one enemy that really stands in your way, and it's like a one-tile gap. This is Master Hand and Crazy Hand. So I got lucky and managed to inhale Stone off of one of Master Hand's attacks. And Stone is really powerful, as seen on previous bosses.
Do certain bosses, I mean like, Velocity takes more damage with fire, but like, is that the case with other bosses too?
So Crazy Hand is weak to fire. So if I didn't get a Stone drop, I would have just continued on. Okay.
So Stone.
Using fire, and Crazy Hand would have died like pretty much instantly.
Wow. So is Stone just like an overall really powerful?
Yeah, so it's used for, I think, most of the bosses in this run. Like pretty much, if it's available, we use it.
Okay.
Not only does like a single hit do a lot of damage, but also, let's see if I can get this damage boost here. Nice. Okay. But you can actually, because the like going into Stone, you sort of stay in the same place. You can actually get 2 hits with 1 attack.
Oh, okay.
The segment's gonna be over soon, so I'm not really worried about my health. Oops. Yeah, so the moment you enter a room, or the moment you open a chest, you can reset, and the game will have that saved. Now we're going on to finish off Cabbage Caverns with a boss called Molly, which is a complete troll. First, we're going to grab some chests here. So we're actually going to use the throw ability for Molly. So Molly can appear in any one of these 6 holes, and sometimes Molly will throw objects. I want to say most of the time, but sometimes you just get trolled really hard like this. Alright, that's not so bad. And what we're going to do with throw, we're actually just going to hold the object behind us, and it'll do a ton of damage to Molly. So that fight was actually like really, really good luck. Sometimes it'll just like pop in and then hide again, pop in, hide out repeatedly. Alright, what do we do now? Alright, so we're finally gonna grab this chest.
So why did we not grab that chest yet again?
Oh, so the idea is that like you grab it sort of on the way as you pass by with the wheel.
Oh.
It actually turns out to be like pretty much the same speed, so it's really doesn't really make much of a difference. Now we're going on to Mustard Mountain. A lot of different things can happen here. Okay, so I want to mix these 2 spark enemies here. But they're really random. Like, you can just attack like this and they'll split up. Hope I can... Okay, good. Now that I've got them inhaled here, I'm going to break these metal blocks. And stuff that can break metal blocks, missile, hammer, stone. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones.
Can smash.
Yeah, like the corresponding abilities in Smash. There's also the Master Sword, which is like a, I guess like New Game Plus type item, where you only get it after you beat the final boss. Alright, I don't really need a missile anymore. Alright. 2 more switches here. Yeah, some of this, like most of the switches are paired. So you go like several, I guess like layers deep into each of these worlds. Darn. Okay, I'll try again later.
So what are you trying to get right now?
So I was trying to get UFO. Once again to hit like a bomb block out of reach. That one over there. And the mix is kind of strange. I find that mix difficult in the first place, but if you inhale the enemies in a different order, the mix wheel changes. So I'll try again here.
So you have to go back this way anyway, so it
Yeah,
does...
exactly.
Okay.
Alright, nice.
Nice.
Okay. So the Sparky is jumping around randomly, and the tornado enemy is invulnerable, so you can't manipulate it. Alright. And so that saves like 10 seconds over using Mini and walking around. There's actually, people used to do that differently. So with the fighter ability, if you do like the Hadouken, and you're at 1 health, it can travel through walls. So, but I don't want to run around with 1 health. So
Yeah.
no thanks. So by introducing something that's arguably harder, I circumvent having to do Hadouken skip. The Hadouken skip is sort of hard to pull off. Okay, this is good luck. I got candy off of the Shadow Kirby, and that allows me to just run to this mini boss.
Fire that for best boss.
Yeah, Hadouken skip is kind of tricky to perform because you can only do it on the ground, and you have to sort of slide off a ledge while doing the Hadouken just to be able to hit that bomb block. That was Krako. I got really good luck on it. The stone ability, if you do like the double hit, it takes 3 hits with it. Some other things to clean up in Mustard Mountain. Yeah, so the fact that fire can shoot diagonally is really helpful for hitting this bomb block here. And after we grab this chest, we're going to reset. So before, people used to run all the way to the right of that room, but that's just this room here, so we're just going to reset.
Oh.
The reason was because they would hit the switches in a different order, so that like going through like that wasn't an option back then.
Mm-hmm.
This is, in my opinion, the most irritating backtracking part. So we're gonna go through here, use sword to hit that switch. We use missile here. I think the intended way is not to use sword, but to actually lay a bomb there and then run around before the bomb explodes.
Oh yeah, bomb abilities. I think.
Yeah. Not used at all in this one.
Lower tier of abilities, I would say.
What's that?
Lower tier of abilities, I would say.
I mean, there are some that, like, I'm responsible for removing, like ice. Alright, this is another one where you just wait it all out.
So, for the mixes, is it like, depending on the ability, the pattern that it kind of gives you to choose from, and that's how you know to pick or to just wait it out or not?
Yeah, so
okay.
the relative order of all of them, like it's like in a cycle, and that cycle is always the same. The starting position depends on the first of the 2 enemies you inhaled. And so if you inhale a spark enemy first, it'll always start in a certain spot.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what the second enemy is as long as it has an ability.
Actually makes a lot of sense now.
Alright, I'm actually going to call the Kirby friends here, and they're just going to stand on that switch for me as I go over here to open the chest.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, so the Kirbys, like, depending on where you are, they have, like, predetermined movements. So in that room right there, they're, like, pre-programmed to just stand there until you get the chest. And now we're going to get the sword enemy here. And so notably, like, the Kirbys don't stand on this switch here. Otherwise, if I were able to keep wheel, that'd be really, really helpful.
I'm getting a deja vu right now.
So we're going to go through this exact same area again. Unbelievable. All 3 of them. Alright, this time we're going to pick up Mini and go through this gap here. I want to take out that guy first. Mini, you can't really do anything except just run around and jump. And one thing about these small corridors, if you take damage during it, you instantly die. Like you get crushed by the wall. And I have lost a really good pace run because of that. Alright, so now we go get Missile. This is sort of an extended Missile section. Now clean up the rest of Mustard Mountain and also Moonlight Mansion. So this is the same area that we're in at the beginning of the run, going through this area with Wheel. So if you didn't want to do mixes, the actual best option would be to come through here with Missile. So instead of going through there, we're going to break these bomb block, like grave blocks over here. Oh, I want that. Yeah, Missile is really hard to control. This like 90-degree thing that I'm doing is really not optimal, but I don't know. I guess I was just too lazy to learn how to do it properly.
Are you the only one that really does it like this?
Bretschmann, like one of the 4 Germans I mentioned earlier, was the one who told me to do that. And like ever since, I have never actually learned how to really use Missile. So if you guys go to the end of that room, it'll take you to Candy Constellation, and that used to be how it was done. So you'd have Missile and Candy Constellation. But like I said, the route through Peppermint Palace is a lot faster. Ooh, that's not good. I don't like this. Like, hitting the mirror with Missile is really strange. I don't fully understand it. Like, with Wheel, like, running speed before you start it seems to matter. And you can get, like, running speed in the air without running. So,
okay.
like, all sorts of stuff. It's weird stuff. And that room that I phoned home in is actually just, like, really inconvenient. And that room is just, like, out there by itself. And there's pretty much no other way to get to it. So now we're going backwards through the very first area of the game. We're going to hit these metal blocks. Gotta be careful here not to hit any of those yellow patches on the ground and ceiling. Likely to lose my ability if that happens. I'm gonna wait for this guy here. I'm gonna take damage anyways. So I believe that Missile downwards is actually the same speed as falling. So there you don't use it because it takes time to go into Missile form in the first place. I'm gonna get a damage boost there just to get past that. Scarfy. Alright, here's another mix. It's actually the second to last ability. And it's like really slow, and you have plenty of time to react, but I have... the last time I did this run in a marathon, I failed it, I think, 3 times. While hitting like every other mix in the run.
The hard ones and everything.
Yeah. But that was one of Bretschmann's like last additions to the 100% route was that and another mix that I don't do anymore.
Is it because it's like just not optimal anymore?
I don't know which is faster. It's just like I like doing it a different way. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so this is Radish Ruins. Lots of tight spaces, I guess. Lots of like 2-tile wide corridors.
Good music.
Yeah. So that should be the last switch that I press. And that'll unlock the ability room, which is in the top left corner of the home world. So you can get like pretty much any ability except UFO in there, I think. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter at all in this run.
But
So
it's there.
Yeah, it's there. There's a cutscene that wastes time.
You don't have to enter it, do you?
No, you don't have to enter it. It's considered like the same room as the home world on the map.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so we hit one of those levers that's going to be useful later on. Alright, I really wanted to make sure I got this chest right here. For some reason, this one's one I often forget. Eh. Usually if you just like mash the cannons, it'll shoot you before it moves. Alright, so this is like the outside area of Rashruins. It's really important that I keep wheel throughout the whole part. If I take damage once, it's probably gone. That's like the one scary part, I guess. So in that room, there's like a current pushing you down. So you're supposed to like use wheel and use its invincibility to get past, but you really can just like walk across it, like take damage a few times, and then get the chest without wheel. And so this is a dead end here. So dead end usually leads to like a mini boss or like or this like goal game thing. It's like written as goal on your screen, on your map. And it's just like this little mini game where you can like pick up extra health or like extra battery. So pressing this lever unlocks this shortcut over here. That'll just bring us back to where we were before. Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, so Master Hand doesn't normally hurt you unless he's doing some attack. So if you just run into it while it's just idling there, you won't take damage. That was not such a great fight. So jumping upwards as much as possible is faster than just simply floating up. Alright, there are a couple of chests in the next room. Hopefully I can pull off a neat little strategy. Okay, what? Okay. Alright. So I have my wheel back after inhaling that big metal block. This is Shadow Kirby. See you later.
Body.
So I don't know if like when Shadow Kirby appears is like fully understood, but like in 80%, if you like reset before doing this Meta Knight segment. First of all, it was a really good fight. Like sometimes if you reset before doing the Meta Knight segment, then he won't appear in 80%. But then if you do it like the way I did in 100%, that Shadow Kirby will appear. Not like it really like loses too much time, anyways. So we're just gonna clean up a little bit in Radish Ruins. Actually, I need to do something else first. I'm gonna enter the like final boss sequence and then just immediately reset. And so there's like a little cutscene that was playing. Probably should have waited to do that instead of redoing this part. there's a little cutscene that plays, and the second time we enter it, we'll be able to skip it.
So did you skip it that time by resetting?
Sorry, say again?
Did you skip it that time by resetting?
Yeah, so like you it like already played, but then we just reset it.
Okay.
Alright, this is a little bit of just a little bit of cleanup here. And this is like a really like dumb time save that's really not worth it. It's to go for missile here. Yeah, not worth it. But assuming you didn't get hit, it does save time over just floating up. Alright, so this is what a goal game looks like. It's like a big door. But we're not going to go through it. We're just going to collect this chest right here. So now we're on to what I call the Dark Mind prep phase. So Dark Mind is the final boss of this game. And so two things we want to do before we enter the mirror. One is to get all the Kirbys out of the home screen. And the second is to have stone. And so in 80%, you'd be doing this right after you finish the 8th boss. I'm just gonna double check here. Okay, good. Like right after the 8th boss, so you go into a different room, pick up stone, call your friends to get them out of the room, and then go on like proceeding with. Oh, that is bad.
Oh.
No wheel. That's okay. Like so, I was saying like you go through it. Get stone, call your friends to get them out, and then go on to fight the final boss. In 100%, we have the luxury of like not needing to go straight to the final boss after being the 8th boss. So what we can do is that we can sort of combine it into the same segment. This is really slow, just walking across like this.
I missed a wheel already.
Yeah. And so, in this segment, I got the Kirby friends to leave. Oops. So now they're going to be hanging out in Kara Castle. Oh, this is really bad. Alright. Beat him up. That was really cooperative.
Yeah.
About the Kirby.
Teamwork.
Alright, finally got it. Wow, it's really laggy right now. So I go through this part with Minnie, making sure not to lose it. One last thing is to go through here. The other Kirbys have caused this room not to reset, so these Gordos are in a different cycle. Really, I should have just tanked it. But I noticed that at the end of some segments, I'll call home versus reset. And the general rule of thumb is that I'm going to reset if I don't have an ability, and call home if I want to keep my ability. But in this case, I want to call home just so that the Kirbys don't get reset back to the home room. So conveniently I have stone, and that's why I do the segments in this order. Okay, that fish can be a little bit scary. This is a really finicky thing. I'm just going to try to hover above it. Alright. And so now I've fulfilled the two criteria that I was talking about earlier. Having stone and not having the Kirbys here. So now I can just skip this cutscene and go on with the fight. Wow, this is not going well. So what I want to do is I want to try to slide into Dark Meta Knight to bait him into doing his down stab attack, except I am not prepared at all. He's really not cooperating. It's really bad when this is like the first time you've heard the music actually cycle back to the beginning. Alright, so by floating and bouncing, for some reason I'm like a little bit in the air, and that causes me to enter this portal just like a little bit quicker.
Speed tech.
Yeah, it's speed tech. It saves like tiny amount of time,
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure. So this is Dark Mind. There's 6 different phases. So in this first phase, I'm going to combine the sword with whatever ability I just had. Nice luck. And then use Double Star. So the Double Star won't kill, but Dark Mind kind of flinches, so he'll move back and then end up getting hit by a second time.
Oh.
So this is the second phase of Dark Mind. I'm going to combine the sword with whatever ability I had. One nice thing about this stage is that it has these 2 platforms on the side. So if Dark Mind chooses to attack from above, I can actually jump and hit him. So in this third phase of Dark Mind, still combining for a double star. What I want to get from this phase, didn't get it, is an ability like fire or ice that allowed me to hit that switch right there and not have to go around this entire room. But it's pretty rare, so not too surprised.
How much time does that save getting fire ice?
I think it saves like 10 seconds.
Ah.
It's like at the end of the run. But this is the more luck-dependent part. So in the previous 3 phases, the double star killed Dark Mind immediately. But this one, he has a little bit more health and he survives it. And so what I want to do here is I want Dark Mind to give me a green star. Alright, this one. And mix for UFO. So I got really lucky there. And like pretty much it was like second attack I got it.
Wow. Nice.
No. Time is actually after the credits. So this is Dark Mind 5.
Do you do time depending on if you get 100% or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's verified you got 100%. So Dark Mind 5 has really long invincibility frames. It's only vulnerable when its eye is open. And once you hit it once, it closes for like a really long period of time. So you want something that does like a high amount of damage, like a charged hammer or UFO fully charged shot. Nice, okay. You might call them iframes, ha ha ha. Terrible.
I give you a clap for that one.
And while that fight was going on, he spawned mirrors that you can also attack and break. And it actually does more damage on the mirrors than the eye itself. This is Dark Mind 6. It's like a space shooter. Like a lot of Kirby games. This phase is pretty random, but
This just looks like so satisfying when you hit them.
yeah,
I don't know why.
makes a nice sound. So this fight's over and the credits are rolling, but timing ends after the credits when you get the 100% screen. So hopefully, if I've collected everything, I got 100%. And there's like a score at the bottom right. I guess it's like another Smash Brothers thing where you can attack stuff during the credits for a high score. But doing that actually creates lag. So I tried it once, like a few days ago, and I lost like 3 seconds due to lag from shooting Dark Mind.
Wow.
So I'm just gonna camp out in this corner and hopefully not get hit too much. At the end, it is faster to like manually kill it. So I'm just gonna wait for the music to stop and then start shooting it.
Do you know what this story is after this?
Basically, you get to go back home and everyone's happy. That's pretty much it. Like, this is sort of like some alternate dimension mirror world kind of thing.
Oh.
All right, so time hopefully should be coming up soon. And time. What does that say?
1:14:47.
All right, I'll take it. Yeah, that's Kiraby the Amazing Mirror, 100%. I'd like to give a special shout out to Local Mocal, who really inspired me to get back into 100% after not playing it for like almost a year. So, shout out to him. Yeah, thanks.